Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you, Lori. How are you?
Good morning, Lauren. I am doing fabulous. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to today's show. I know it's going to be jam-packed with a ton of information, so I can't wait to get started.
It is, as we call them, we got a money show today. We're talking about money and how to get money. And whenever we talk about money, what I think it is, Lauren, the two ones that come running, money and marketing. In fact, I got to track down our famous Deborah Darris and get her back on. That's on
I-
my goal of things. I got some people coming on. I'm going to announce one of them today, and my lineup for February is going to be announced pretty soon. But yeah, money and marketing. That's the two hot topics, I think.
Double M's.
Exactly. But I see our numbers are climbing, and I will let you kick this off for us.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen uh, so that we can go ahead and get started. Hold on one second, everyone. I had to join from a different type of browser today, so all right,
Oh,
let's see.
well, I'm
Let's.
afraid Microsoft is doing an update. Whenever they do, everything goes crazy for me.
Oh, that's never fun.
No,
All right, how's that for you, Lori? Are you
you're
able to see
good.
my
Yep.
screen okay?
Yep. I'm looking at your screen. You're good. Take it
Oh,
away, Lauren.
here I go. Good morning again, everyone. My name is Lauren Simpson. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We are excited to have you to our frequent flyers. Welcome, welcome. We love seeing you per usual. Let me dive into what it is that we're doing today and who we are. So again, I'm Lauren Simpson. I'm with the SBDC, or the Small Business Development Center. We're a national program with over 1,000 locations across the country, and we offer no-cost services to local small businesses. Now, our services are at no cost to you because your tax dollars have already taken care of our fees. For the Los Angeles network, we service the areas of Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties. So if you are within either of those counties, please be sure to get connected with the Los Angeles Regional Network, SBDC, because we'd love to assist you. We have tons of resources. We offer no cost business advising. And so you're able to sit one-on-one with one of our business experts. You might even have a chance to sit with our guru of numbers, Ms. Lori Williams. We also have experts in the fields of marketing, again, finances, taxes, of course. We have experts in the fields of business planning. So if you're looking to create a business plan, and if you're just looking to turn a side hustle into a business. If you're a handyman and now you're looking to go into construction, we can assist you with that. Now, we also offer virtual trainings, much like the training you have joined today or the show that you've joined today. And so those are comprehensive workshops to help your business adapt and grow. So please be sure to get in contact with us today. We'd love to assist you. You can reach us by phone, 866-588-7232. Or you can go online, smallbizla.org/new client. Now, if you've reached us outside of our area, our service area, meaning that you are outside of the Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, or Ventura counties, please go to americassbdc.org/find your SBDC. So I am going to stop sharing really quick. There we are. All right, Lori. So I'm going to kick it over to you, but really quickly, everyone who's joined us, please be sure to put all questions into the Q&A. And let's, I'm sorry, so questions into the Q&A, Lori will be monitoring. And then the chat will be reserved for any information, links that Lori would like to share with you. With that, Lori, I'm going to hand it over to you. Good morning again.
Perfect. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, our frequent flyers. And to those that are new to the show today, welcome, welcome. Lauren is going to be putting a whole bunch of things that I'm going to be talking about in a minute in the chat. So all the links are going to go into the chat. So this is a slide from last week. I'm just giving you guys a heads up, a reminder. If you have a seller permit, sales tax, annual reports, which most small companies do have to file on an annual basis, are due January 31st. Now, remember, if you have a selling permit that is open and you didn't do any sales, you still have to file this annual report until you close that permit. So if you don't, you can get a penalty. Had a lot of people get caught on that. That's why I'm making a special mention to it now. If you have an LA County business tax, the renewal is due, I think it's February 28th, maybe sooner. But keep an eye on that, because if you have a business renewal requirement, because you're doing business in the county of LA, if you do not do the renewal by the deadline, you do not get the exemption for 100,000 in sales or below. I just helped the client go through that yesterday. She got it in time, and therefore she has no tax owed, which if you don't have it on time, you will owe a tax. The requirement tax filing for LLC and S Corps. An LLC, if they did not have any transactions, does not need to file a tax return. However, most LLCs, even if you opened it, you opened a bank account, you paid to be established, you have some type of transaction. So it's highly unusual that you would open the LLC and have zero. So you may be required to file a Schedule C this year. I know many people opened an LLC last year, some of them in response to the Dream Fund, some of them aren't functioning yet, and so they kind of forgot about it. Don't forget, this is a legal requirement. You've got the LLC open, there's certain requirements you have to fulfill, which one of them is the last bullet, is the franchise tax fee of $800 minimum will be due on April 15th. Some of you received the COVID exemption because you started the company last year, the year previous, but that fee is now due. And an S Corp, even if you had no transactions, you have to file a tax report. So make sure, tax return. So those are some heads up on that topic. Now, for those of you, some of you may in the audience have an extension to May 15th to get your taxes in. You can see all of the counties on my screen. Lauren's putting this in the chat. Check it out. This is due to the California storm victims qualifying for a tax relief, which is an extension on your deadline, as well as your IRAs and other contributions that you would be making to savings accounts. Now, for my upcoming classes, I just had session 1, session 2, and session 3 are coming up on the financial literacy series, having a lot of people join that series and learning quite a lot from it. This Thursday, I guess that's tomorrow, I'm having the legal structure for my company. What are the tax advantages? Once again, I began that webinar because I was hearing too many people having false information regarding the legal structures and the tax advantages. So it's kind of a summary and overview of what each tax advantage is for the business structures. And what you're going to learn is there's actually quite a lot of similarity. It's not as different as you thought. Now, a quick view on upcoming shows. Next week, we're going to have Simara back on. She is an HR specialist, and she was on some time ago. We had so many questions, I couldn't even get to all of them. One of our listeners sent a request because there's many new California employee laws coming up, or actually are already here. It's January. And so Simara is going to talk about what small businesses have to know, some of the new laws, and some of the other aspects that need to be considered from an HR perspective. And February 1st, we got our frequent flyer, Emma Green, coming back on, the tennis elbow queen. Emma is kicking off a February and somewhat into March, depending on how I get everybody scheduled in on the different show dates. But what I'm doing is starting February, I'm kicking this kind of series where it's, okay, you've been at the game for a while. Tell us what it takes to successfully run and continue in your company. And Emma's been at it for a long time, and she's one of our favorites that hears every week. Abby is also going to be coming back from Zizia Botanicals. She is hitting big with that new product, the bombs, and she's going to talk about how she finally managed to reach profitability goals. And I got a few more people. I just got to get everybody scheduled with the dates. That's why I haven't announced them yet, but we're going to have some great shows coming February and March where we're going to go, okay, you've started. Now what do you need to do to keep going? And of course, anybody that still is in the startup stage can learn from these skills as well. Now, today, my guest will be discussing a very important topic for business owners: how to get financing for your company. Keith Rogers has worked closely with small businesses in Pasadena and surrounding San Gabriel Valley City since 1995. As former executive director of the Pasadena Development Corporation, he was administrator for PDC's lending programs and technical assistance services. The City of Pasadena provided CDBG resources for a viable high-risk micro lending program to startups and existing businesses looking for capital infusion. Mr. Rogers established partnerships with major banking and financial institutions, raised millions for lending programs, and provided economic development solutions for over 1,200 businesses in the Pasadena and San Gabriel Valley cities. Formerly Senior Business Development Officer with Valley Economic Development Corporation, which is one of the California's largest nonprofit small business lenders. Now, here's the exciting news. Keith is a senior consultant with our own network, the SBDC network, and he's also the owner of KAR Enterprises, an independent consulting firm for businesses denied capital from banks. Keith is a graduate of the University of Phoenix with a BS in business management and has licensed certifications in lending, insurance, and emergency management mitigation. A warm, warm welcome to Keith. Welcome to the show.
Well, good morning. Welcome to Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
Oh, I love that. That's great. I used to love Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I watched that all the time. Well, Keith, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for coming to the show. You're going to be discussing what is so important, but it's also confusing and I would say somewhat frustrating for many small businesses. I know that everybody in the audience, when I said frustrating, I bet you a few of them went, oh yeah, this is very frustrating for me. That is for sure. So when we were getting ready to schedule you coming on the show, one of my goals was to explore types of funding available to the businesses that cannot get traditional bank loans and SBA loans. Prior, we had Nate on, and we talked a lot about traditional loans, et cetera. In fact, I'm going to have Lauren put the link in the chat for everybody, because some of you guys may want to go back and watch that show if you didn't see the previous one. But today, what I really wanted to do is I wanted to talk about, people that cannot get the traditional bank loans, why they can't get the traditional bank loans, and then more importantly, what are their options, as well as people that just want to borrow a little bit, and the friends, family, and fools are there for them, as we call them all the time. So what I thought we would start with is this qualifying, because really it's all on the fundamentals of qualifying and what you qualify for, and unfortunately also what you don't qualify for, to know kind of where you have to steer your company for different types of financing. So I know this is a huge topic within itself. I'm just going to let you take it from there. Take us through qualifying and what that word means.
Okay, well, qualifying. It means a lot of different things, especially as it pertains to your situation. That's the key, your situation. What is it? Because that's the basis of where we're going to qualify you, as opposed to the next business owner or the next startup business. Everybody's situation is ever so slightly different. So where we generally just start is, have you filed your tax returns? Okay, we got to have your tax returns. That's 1A. These are federal. Borrowing is, you're generally borrowing federal money, SBA money, government money of one sort or another. So you have to have filed your tax returns. The second thing is your credit score. You got to know what your credit score is and your credit condition. And then from there, we go into quote unquote everything else. And that is just a mountain of stuff. Borrowing money, even though it's being made simple these days with online applications, the last thing you want to do is fill out an application. That's the last thing you want to do. Not the first thing, the last thing. You don't want to fill out any application until you know, as we stated, that you are qualified for what you're going to apply for, meaning you know you're going to get funded. There's no
Yeah.
reason for you to do it.
I like what you've said so far, Keith, and I'm going to back up and throw a little bit of tax information in there because, as you
Okay.
mentioned, you have to have filed your tax return, and there are so many clients, and I know you're not surprised to hear this, Keith, that I talked to, and they did not file any tax return for their business last year, maybe never, etc. And one of the things, not only does that hurt from banking, but I'm going to take this golden opportunity to mention a little IRS stuff about filing taxes. I learned this when I was getting my EA, my enrolled agent, and I was not aware of this before. There is a larger penalty for not filing your taxes than for not
Exactly.
paying your taxes. So, and the statute of limitations, the 7 years, it's null and void if you haven't filed. So a shout out there with tax season coming up. Not only what Keith is saying is so important from a banking relationship, but file, even if you can't pay, file, because you're going to pay more penalties if you don't. And Keith, the other thing I just want to make sure the audience heard, I'm just kind of repeating something you said, is this: don't jump online and start filling out a bunch of applications. You have to understand what you're about to go through. And that's what I see people do now. They just start going through and filing a bunch of applications. So that was such a great little nugget. I wanted to just stop and pull that out. So continue on this
Yeah.
qualifying aspect, Keith.
Yeah, that is a great point. Again, as an SBDC advisor, we're an advisory team. My strongest advice to anybody that wants to get money: don't apply until we fine tooth comb your application, go through your numbers with you, and explain to you and show you so you understand exactly why you could get the 25, the 50, the 250, the 350, or even the $500,000. Okay. And it all boils down to what I call, you see my hand, the $5 rule. Okay. If you have $5 and you have $2 worth of debt, you still see $3, right? You still see $3. I can lend you some money. That one finger is probably 10,000 for some people, $500,000 for others, and $1 million for others. It depends on what you're trying to finance, one, and two, how much. But the key point is you still see 2 and 3 fingers. There's money to pay for something, but how much? And that's what we got to help you work on. If you're trying to borrow money, which you can do, you can get a loan. You may want 100, but you may only qualify for 25. Why? Because let me show you why. We're going to go through your numbers. We're going to pull out all your current debt. We're going to pull out all your income. And you say, you see what's left over? Divide that by 12. This is the most you could pay. Because they're going to want to leave a little cushion. Okay? You cannot borrow more than you can pay. Simply, very simple. You just cannot do that. You got to have a finger or two left over after you borrow some money.
I love that, Keith. I've never seen assets and liabilities explained so perfectly simple and easy to understand. I love that. And one of the things that you pointed out is you talked about having someone, and we do this at SBDC at no charge all day long, go through your numbers and look at them before you present. And I want to pull that little nugget out as well, Keith, because a lot of people don't realize that if you just throw some papers to somebody and it doesn't look proper, it's not correct, you got an accounting issue, you got something, it's so hard to back out of that. They already are going, oh no, I don't trust you at all. So people need to look at this and applying for things like a exam they're taking, and they make sure they fill out every single thing with a number 2 before they put in the test. And too often people see it as just, oh, an online application, just throw it out there. But it's really hard to get out of a bad first impression.
Yeah, oh yeah. Now let me quickly just say this simply about banks. Banks are trying to do basically one thing. They're trying to sell you on holding your money, one, and two, providing you with one of their products. Okay. So even if you were a startup and you went to a bank and they denied you a business loan, and you have a great credit score with plenty of fingers left over, they'll probably try to give you a credit card, okay, with 25 or 10 or $15,000 of credit. Now, should you take that and use it in your business? That's another decision. But if it's not a business card, no, I will just say it right now, no, you shouldn't, because you're trying to start a business. So you don't want to take personal credit cards to start a business. If you just can't do it no other way, please don't do that, because more debt equals a higher mountain to climb towards profitability. Am I correct, Lori?
Oh, yes. In fact, profitability, Keith, is the word I say all the time. People are like, oh my God, she's discussing profitability again. But we were talking before the show. I say at the end of the day, you got to have enough money to buy a quart of milk. You know, nobody here is wealthy, independent. And so we have to be profitable in our companies, because that's what's supporting our personal lifestyles.
I mean, I would like a Lamborghini to drive. That costs $275,000. But guess what I don't want to pay? The car insurance, the maintenance, just to go in the maintenance place, they want $1,750 just to look at the car. Okay. So it's not what you get, it's how much you get, and can you take care of it? And that's the thing. Nobody wants to lend you more than you could pay. And that's what they're not going to do in today, especially in today's times. It's just not going to happen. It's tougher to get money. Is there plenty of money available? Yes, there is. But it's going to be tougher to get it because of all the conditions that are going on. And I know we were saying we're going to kind of touch on the 5 C's of credit. I think, one of my famous jokes is, or lines is related to that. What is out of the 5 C's of credit, what is the number one C? What is the number one C?
Do I get to take a guess at it?
I want you to do that.
Okay, I'm guessing. Collateral.
Nope.
That's
a big one. Now you get 2 more tries. You get 2 more tries.
Well, the next thing to me would be character, because it's whether the numbers are going to be correct or not. Because collateral, I figure I can always grab your house back, but character is going to have it. Emma is guessing credit score.
No.
That's not a C. That's not a C, though. I'm going to give. I don't know. I'm going to say you're going to have to tell me. I'm going to learn with everybody else.
That's what I always do. We get 2 or 3. That's not it. And then I just go, and it's not cash.
Okay, we got cash flow from someone. We got years of experience, collateral.
Cash flow is very important too. They're all important, but the number one is condition. And let me tell you why.
Okay, I'm wanting it. Let's learn. First of all, we better go through the 5 C's, so people who don't know the 5 C's, they know what the 5 are. Okay, and then we'll talk about conditions. Okay. So just name off all 5.
Cash flow, which is cash flow, collateral, capacity, credit, and condition.
Okay, now tell us condition. What's condition mean?
I'm gonna give you a very simple analogy. You're in Phoenix, it's summertime. It's 116 degrees outside. And you're trying to open a hot chocolate stand. Are you gonna sell anything?
No.
Absolutely not. Because the condition says no to you.
And condition is going to tie into the cash flow, the collateral, the ability. Because in a way, if you can't make a sale, you're not going to be profitable for sure. So it's the condition of the company's ability to even be profitable, be existent, and make the sale and make the bank loan and the interest.
That's like saying I'm going to play football and I'm never going to work out. You're in trouble. The minute you hit the field, you're going to get hit and they're going to break you in half.
You
because
know
you
what
get,
I love about this, Keith, is so many times entrepreneurs get caught up on this false belief, taking it too far, that they think, oh, I'm going to tell the bank my idea and they're going to love my idea and become passionate about it. And that's going to make them want to lend to me. And I say, banks don't lend on ideas. But what condition does in our discussion of condition, it shows how the idea gets viewed from the bank, the condition of the idea being translated into a business sale and opportunity and progress and growth.
yeah, I call that virtual reality. And we have virtual reality games. You know, you put this screen on your face and you can see yourself jumping off a cliff. But if you really did that, we already know what's going to happen to you. You're going to die.
Yeah.
But if in the virtual world, you could float, you could fly, you can land softly. But in the real world, that doesn't happen.
Right.
So the thing is that we have to deal with your condition, whatever it may be. You pick up with an applicant and you know, like you say, the credit score is great. The cash flow is good. So they may have an issue with structure, or they may have an issue with, just you name it. You name it. It could be anything. How do we line all these things up before we present a loan request and get it
You know
all?
what's interesting about what you're saying, Keith? So you said a little bit ago about challenging situations today to get money, which I'm sure the conditions that the companies are in because of COVID is playing into it. So can I connect the dots the way I did? That's why companies are going to have a harder time getting the traditional loans and having to look at some of these other options that we're going to discuss at all because the conditions changed within their company over the last 3 years.
Oh yeah, you're dealing with that. A lack of employees across the board. I mean, businesses, one of the toughest things for not only manufacturing, but all retail operations these days is finding employees. The ones that used to work for you that quit or moved on to another job, they're not coming back.
Yeah.
And then what's coming behind them is there's nobody. So you really have to nail down where am I going to get my employee base from, and then you're going to have to talk about how you're going to develop the trust with your key manager, with your key employees, just like a team does. You know, I keep relating everything to sports. I mean, the NFL's in playoffs now, so the best organized team obviously is going to continue to win. The ones that make the most mistakes are going to lose. So in business, you can make mistakes and still stay afloat. But eventually, some of these issues, like COVID or these conditions, they'll sneak up on you and they will attempt to knock you out of your business. And you have to have kind of like just hair growing all over the place to be looking at every aspect, every issue of your business and stay ahead of the game. And that means, I mean, there is no one answer, one size fits all. No, there's no unisex in business.
Right.
Your individual business requires you to do whatever you need to do to make it work.
I remember from my days in banking, we would tour the facilities, look at the warehouse, look at everything. And that's what we were looking at is, does the, inventory look like it's been there forever? What does the systems look like within the company, et cetera? So I can see conditions being a crucial component. Can we touch on collateral you said as the second? And mostly I want to come from a position of understanding, because most people, especially ones that have not borrowed money before, Keith, some of the newer business owners, new to business, they don't really realize the degree of necessity of collateral. They think they can get a bank loan without collateral, and they think SBA loans means no collateral. So can we touch on that word, what it means, what it is, and how prominent it is required within lending, and when it is not required within lending?
Well, quite simply, the SBA rule is if you have available collateral, they're supposed to, put a lien on it. That's the general rule.
Yeah.
Now, what is the loan for? Obviously, if you're buying a commercial property or, some sort of heavy equipment or vehicles for the lien will be placed on those pieces of equipment for what is being, lent to the company. But collateral is it's a leverage tool for you and for the lender to say, I have the capacity if all else fails, I have liquidation value to pay you off what I owe you. Not you don't owe. I mean, if you pay on a loan and you have the 10-year term and you paid 5 years and you only owe half or a third of the money because you've been prepaying or whatever, you only owe the balance. Some banks want key man life insurance.
Yeah, I have seen that before.
Right. Some banks want key man life insurance. It depends on the size of the loan, what it's for, and the strength of the capacity of the business.
I actually had a company when I was the CFO take out key man life insurance on myself as a requirement from an investor. Always made me a little bit nervous because I felt if I didn't succeed at making the company profitable, I may be worth more than I was dead. And that always bothered me. I'm like, well, let's see how much profitability in the company this year compared to if I was dead. But that's a whole nother story on that. So someone in our audience was asking a question on collateral. Can the collateral be the products and not the land, home, or equipment? And that was a great question because I was just about to go there. So many of the people, especially in LA and California, Keith, they don't own homes, right? They don't own boats. They don't own these kind of things that we traditionally think about as collateral. So where are they as far as having to pledge collateral, and what else can collateral be other than as, I'm going to mess up the audience's person's name because I know I'll say it wrong, but FG is by the initials as she asked.
Well, it kind of works two ways. Now, if you have strong cash flow and you have a lack of collateral, there's a minimum and a maximum you probably could borrow. There is no, we won't lend you or make you a loan, but will you get 300,000 unsecured? Probably not.
No.
Will you get even 25 unsecured? More than likely, yes.
Yeah.
But 300, no.
No.
Nobody's.
I always use 25 as kind of the secured, unsecured rule myself.
Yeah.
It seems like that's a very good way to look at it. In other words, to people in the audience that you can follow, think of your credit cards. That's unsecured. You can't borrow 300,000 on your credit card, right? So it's when you're borrowing money after you get above 25,000, not as a hard number, but a general rule, they're going to start asking for collateral. That's what Keith is saying in this instant.
Right, because I mean, back to my days of running a microloan program, our maximum loan was $50,000. So if you had strong cash flow, but you hadn't yet bought a commercial or a home asset, will we make a $50,000 loan? Yeah, it depends on what the 3-year trend of your tax returns showed. That you wouldn't have a problem making a 5-year term of $50,000 loan payment, which was roughly, $1,100 to $1,200 a month for 5 years. If that wasn't a problem in your cash flow, more than likely we would make that loan because it's a high risk loan program.
Right. And by default it is. Right. Yeah. Versus a bank loan. Yeah.
Again, that's what it was then. And you hear this term thrown around with our government less and less these days. It's called entitlement funds. There's less and less entitlement monies available across the board in any city across America because the government has done everything since COVID in putting out money. And so it's tough to get dollars right now unless you are in a position to really hold something together in a business, especially as a startup. And if you're existing and you're ongoing, you touched on the tax return thing and why it's so vitally important. If you want to borrow money in your business or start a business right now, The number one thing you should do right now is get your tax returns filed for 2022 right now. Yes, you could get an extension, but why are you waiting? Why? What's the purpose? You're too busy? No, get unbusy if you want to, if you
Yeah.
want to borrow some money. Because we need to determine, you don't want to submit an application and the lender just goes, yeah, okay. But we want to see your 2022 tax returns before we make our decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tax returns are big.
That could throw another 60-day wrench in waiting for a loan.
Yep.
Okay. So get your tax returns filed as soon as possible, individually, personally, as well as your business, as quickly as possible.
Yep, I think those are good words. Now, one of our audience asked, what's the collateral to loan ratio? And that's a great question too. Do I just need to have a tiny little house to borrow a whole bunch of money, or what do I need? What's the general rule on that?
Again, if you just bought a house, do you have a form of collateral? Yes, you do, because you probably don't have a second on your home. But how much of equity is there? Now, equity, collateral, it's one and the same, synonymous, but we're talking about, like the question asked, if you only have, say, $50,000 in equity in your home because you just bought it 6 months to a year ago, then that is evaluating, saying, yeah, this is a new home purchase, so there's only that could limit the length or the height of what you could borrow. Yes, it could limit it because your collateral is not stronger to give you 300,000. They're more secure at giving you 200,000 per se,
right?
Because of a lack of collateral. But those issues could be looked at and ironed out and evaluated in your situation by getting some counseling before you submit an application. There's always another way. I mean, one of the things that I help people understand is that, a lot of people want to leave careers. I've been working here 20, 30 years, and now I'm going to start my own business. Well, you've been putting money away in retirement funds, 401ks, and all these different things. And you really don't want to touch that, but you want to make an investment and you want to make a change and you want to start a business. Now, and this is one of my personal pet peeves. If you can own the commercial property that your business is in and occupying and working out of, you're giving yourself the strongest position and opportunity to sustain and grow your business over time. Okay, because you're your own landlord. Okay, and you have a lot of leverage and a lot of decision-making power, and possibly even some rental income if you
right.
if you can own the commercial site you work out of. So that's not everybody's situation, but some people, when you look at how you want to go at your investment and it's going to cash flow, and what are you going to do with the cash flow? Do you need it to take care of your family personally? If yes and no, the other, well, you need to invest it somewhere in your business, and why not try to purchase your commercial site? Now, that's not for everybody. I'm just throwing that out there. That's something you should look at doing. But leasing, one of the things that's killing a lot of businesses now is landlords are raising rents too high.
Yeah. I'm seeing that a lot, Keith. Unfortunately, though, most of the companies that I'm seeing, which kind of goes in another direction for us to speak about, it's correct. I'm, like I said, from the financial perspective, I'm talking with people every single week, seeing them in pretty bad shape. They've used up all the idle loans and everything like that, and they're gone. They have a problem with the rent, but they're in no shape to buy a building. And so a lot of their need for capital is basically almost urgency and emergency, if I can say it that way. Yeah, so can we walk down the road? Because a couple of our people in the audience are saying, I don't have collateral. Can I get any kind of financing? Can we look at what is available? And I don't know if this is the proper term, but in my day, we would call it a little more hard money, Keith. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but
Well, yeah,
let's walk through all that. Okay. Let's walk
yeah,
through that other side of the world.
right. Okay, so there's hard money, and then there's just different angles you have to look at. Um, I don't know. It's again, I relate everything, and I hope everybody likes or hopefully doesn't dislike this analogy, but it's like sports. You got to get your team together. You could always get rid of this player and bring in another player that's has some strength and some capacity that you need to improve your business. Um, you may have to partner. You may have to revenue share. You may have to do a lot of different things to make a company work. But there just isn't one answer. Hard money, it depends on your situation. Um, it may come into play when you're buying a commercial property that you may need to use a commercial loan because it cash flow better and it gives you an opportunity to expand and get your company in position to refinance 3 to 5 years down the line. So hard money makes sense in some situations and it definitely doesn't in a lot of others. Okay. But one thing you can't let any lender, good, bad, or indifferent, take advantage of you is your good credit score. You can't let anybody give you the wrong type of money because of your great credit score. And it happens all the time.
Talk about that a little bit more, Keith. I'm assuming you're saying that because I have a good credit score, I got lenders that want to just throw money at me right away because they're seeing the credit score, but that money may end up harming me in the long run because of the cost. Is that what I think you're saying or alluding to in that,
Yes.
Keith? Did I put the right words in?
Yes, right. If you took every good credit card offer that you received just last year, you could have easily 50 to 100,000 more dollars in credit. But if you took it and you didn't use it, and of course you just had all that credit available on your credit profile, a lender would say probably, well, I'm going to lend you less because you have access to credit elsewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. So all money is not good money depending on your situation. Now, there are reasons why you will have to borrow a lot less, and it may not be enough to get where you think you want to go right now. Well, that's the whole process in starting a business. It takes some people a few months to get a business off the ground. It takes other people years to get the business off the ground. And I'm talking about their first sale. Okay.
Yeah.
But the longer it takes you to get everything in process correctly, the longer you'll stay in business. When you think about some of these big corporations that have been around forever, they did not start overnight and they started real small. Wells Fargo really did start in the stagecoach.
Yeah, I did.
But
It did.
and they had to shoot their way all the way across the country.
Yeah.
When I say shoot their way, they had to defend themselves. But
we talk about so I see a lot, and I'm just going to say like POS systems like Square and different selling platforms offering these loans, and I try to give people heads up that the interest rate on these loans when they take the money out of the sales they're making are really horrific in many cases. And since we were talking about a minute ago, you got to be really careful where you're borrowing the money because some money is not good for you. This comes to mind to me, and so many entrepreneurs just see this as so great because they can get the loan right away and it's coming out of their sales. They don't understand exactly what's all involved in this. Can we talk about that for a minute? Because I know a lot of people in our audience are either using it, have used it, or are thinking about using it. You know what I'm referring to, right?
Yes. These are called cash loans. And I have one horror story related to that that I could give you broad details about. And I have, a simple success story in use of those types of money.
Yeah.
But to break it down real simple, imagine yourself having a small restaurant and you're averaging, $3,000 to $5,000, $3,500 to $5,000 a day in profits. And your dishwasher breaks down, and it costs $35,000 to get the dishwasher reinstalled and up and running in 12 hours. Well, obviously, you don't want to pull $35,000 out of your bank account and give it to them the next day, but you could take the cash loan because you could afford to pay $500 a day and pay it off in 3 months or 2 months or 60 days or 90 days, whatever the case may be. But that's how these companies take daily withdrawals out of your bank account. Okay, it could be as little as $75, or I've seen people getting $750 a day taken out of their bank account. Okay, until that principal is paid off. So those cash loan options, and they're so attractive and they're so immediate because the money's in your account the next day.
Right.
So it makes it seem so convenient. And they're generally just doing a smidgen look at your cash flow. Do you have any money in the bank? And two, do you have a halfway decent credit score? So if you have those two things, you'll get that type of money. But is that the best money for you to utilize? And it could be no, because it could eat up all your cash.
Yeah.
And when if you're a insurance person or a doctor or in the medical field and you're waiting on medical reimbursement processes that take 30 and 60 days, and they're taking money out of your account every day, it's only a month or two before you're out of cash.
Yep.
So you really have to, especially when you're online, what you click on and what you decide to take, it's either going to make you or break you for whatever situation you're borrowing for. Okay. It's even like when somebody does a payday loan.
Yeah.
Okay. If you do a payday loan once in a month, you may easily overcome that. But if you do 2 or 3 in a month, which you easily could do, a third to half your paycheck will be gone in the second month.
That's a good analogy, because a lot of people, if you say a payday loan, they already have kind of a visceral understanding that that's not going to yield out for them financially good. But these new way of borrowing through these sales entities, the different online platforms and stuff, it's very much like payday loans for businesses, but people don't realize that, and they don't publish the interest rates and everything, and so they don't know. And I think your story about the dishwasher also leads to one more topic we should talk about. And I'm going to give you my little take on it just to have you go down the road. And that is usage of funds. When the dishwasher broke, you need the dishwasher, you're borrowing the money, it's getting you up and running to produce sales immediately. And it's a very known thing. The dishwasher broke, I need money, I got the dishwasher, I'm producing sales. What you have to really understand, and I see too many people trying to get funding for an already unprofitable business, that they're really just throwing more money away. And then they get into some of these easily accessed type of loans because they do have sales that are happening, and then they get really in trouble. So can we talk a little bit of usage of funds, how lenders look at it, and how you, the owner, should also assess, why do you need this money, and how is it going to yield sales and enhance profitability for you, not to only pay back the loan, but to be able to grow?
Right. Well, I could give you some simple answers to that type of question. One being, how do I want to state this? You're trying to grow your company, and you need a key employee, and it's going to cost you another $75,000 annually because you got to pay that. That's the minimum salary you could pay this person. Okay, and your cash flow is there, but you need a 90-day head start on that. So you want to borrow $75,000. Okay. Um, Very specific. It's called working capital and employee use. You're going to grow your company. You're going to increase your sales. You could do the projections. You could do this, that, and the other to show that you could easily pay that back in a 5-year term or even up to a 10-year term, your choice. But my point is nailing down the specific use, the reason, the executive summary of why you're borrowing this money, and then translating that into the numbers and the net effect of utilizing those funds and clearly delineating in the numbers your swift capacity to pay the money back in a term loan style, 3, 5, 7, 10 years is what you need to be able to show the lender you could do. Okay. Um, Form of collateral for that particular thing may or may not be necessary depending on the risk. But if you have that capacity to do that, you're strengthening your cause by saying, I have collateral for
Right.
that. You're strengthening your package when you have secondary source or disposable income in your package. Now, what does that mean? Disposable income, secondary source income. It means a lot of different things and in a lot of different ways, but how do you put these things into your request, regardless if you're a startup or an existing business?
Yep.
Okay? Because, I mean, you know, structuring a loan request requires the business owner or the wannabe startup business owner to sit back for a while, be counseled, and look at all the possibilities of variables of ways you can set yourself on a path. And you got to make choices. See, the greatest thing about running your own business, and I'm sure Lori, you agree with this, is you get to do it the way you want to do it.
Oh, so true.
I mean, you could start work at 8 or you could start at noon. It's
Right.
your call because guess what? It's your business. You open the doors when you turn on your computer or when you unlock your door to let people in. That's your choice. You could stay closed for 2 or 3 days and put a sign up. But are you going to be able to recover from the 1 or 2 days you took off? That's the point. But that's the great thing about running your own business. You get to do it, as they say, your way. You get to have it like Burger King says, you want to have it your way. Well, if you do it under your control and your full capacity in the right condition, you can have it your way.
You know, Keith, that's so funny you say Burger King, because I always say that, I've been pretty much self-employed my whole life, but I've been kind of that mentality of I want it my way. And I always kid around that I'm part of the Burger King, I grew up with that commercial. In fact, I still remember, for the record, 2 old beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, sesame seed,
On a
bun.
sesame seed bud.
So I still know that. So Keith, bringing everything together, 2 of the components that I'm pulling out of this, where the entrepreneur, whether it's a startup or existing, could sit back and look at it, is the conditions of where their company is. Where is it today? What has happened? Where is it going? What's the conditions in the environment? So you have a sound understanding of where you are going in the company and how you're going to get there. And then intertwined with what we talked about, the usage of funds, because they come together as a foundation. If I say, okay, the conditions on my business is such that we've got good potential, but I got to pay a higher salary because there's very hard to get employees, as you mentioned. So I've got the conditions that the company's doing okay, but we got to pay more in salary than we have. So the usage of funds is the salary, which is going to help me, which brings it full circle to increase sales, hence increase profitability. And I think too often people just think, I need money, where I'm trying to get them to think through a process, because this is how the borrowers are going to think as well, is what are the conditions, what is the usage of fund, and how is that money going to get me to additional sales and profitability. And I say in profitability because too many times people are go, well, I increased my sales at a discount price. Well, you're still not profitable. And profits pay back loans, not sales. Profits pay back loans. So I think what we did is we learned a really good foundation for each person to look at. And then I'm going to add one more part and throw it back to you is it also, I think one of the underlining themes that we maybe didn't say, but you were expressing is look at things in advance and needing the money. Have your tax returns, your financials, look at the options, sit down with yourself or someone within the ACT team that can counsel and advise on your internal documentation and what your options are. So it's really a preparation and a knowledge and a process. And it's not just where can I get money, which is how entrepreneurs usually face this.
Yes, and there's nothing wrong with starting smaller more so than larger, because larger obviously means more responsibility, more cost. It doesn't mean less. If you have a smaller house, that definitely costs less than that big house. If I gave everybody a mansion, you'd be out of it in, I'd say, maybe 90 days or a little bit more, because you couldn't maintain it. It costs too much. It'll drain you just on the cost. Let alone if you turn on the lights and the water every night, your expenses will kill you. Okay, so it doesn't hurt to start off small and grow gradually, and take minor jumps, not big jumps, minor jumps.
Oh my God, Keith, what you're saying right now, Lauren, put that in. You know, I have been, this is another thing. I'm always shouting from the soapbox, profit, profit, profits. And the other thing is grow slowly. For some reason, we've become so Hollywood based. Everybody's like, I'm going to start my company and then I'm going to be, you know, I IPO tomorrow and then I'm going to, you know, give all my money to charity. It just drives me up a wall. And I always will say, companies start one sale at a time. That's how they start. And, you know, if you start trying to get beyond yourself and be in all markets and be all this, you're going to be nothing. Oh, I like that. I like you're trying to be all, you're going to be nothing. That's a Laurieism for this morning, but it's so true. I'm so glad you're talking about growing small. I have to make a few comments on some of the things in the audience. First of all, I had a comment from, I think it's Jameer. I can't wait for the full explanation on profit versus demand. You know, I'm always talking about that. It's not about demand, it's about profit. And session 2 of my financial literacy class, I get into that. And I always will say, it doesn't matter if you have demand for the product, is if, okay, because I know you said you cannot wait to hear, you're waiting with bated breath. Here we go. Are you have enough demand, willing to pay a high enough price to pay for overhead and the cost of production, to have money left over, to pay for yourself and reinvest in the company? That, my friends, is a definition of a successful company. It's not that everybody wants to buy your products. I have had to go through bankruptcy court as a CFO with many companies as an interim CFO, and they all had sales. They all had sales, but they didn't have profit. So there you go. Waiting on bated breath, I gave it to you. So Keith, we got a couple minutes. I want to throw it back to you. Some words of advice. And also, please, let's take a moment in this. Is we've got your email address, your contact information in the chat. Lauren's put it in there. I want you to talk about what you and others at the SBDC do for people who either need money right away or are thinking they need money, so they know what resources they have available. And thank you, Lauren. She just put your information in the chat again. So a couple words of wisdom you'd like to leave and how they can get in touch with you, we got, and what you can do to help.
Well, the number one thing that I suggest that anybody should do, especially as a startup, but even as an existing business, and you know your bank has said no to you for a business loan in current days time, let's do the deep dive and look at what you're actually trying to do, recalibrate that, and then redetermine what this financing need is. Because is there any 100% financing in small business? No, there is not. You always have to put forth the investment. I call it the definite 70-30 rule. Yeah, you could ask for 70%, but you darn sure got to have 30% plus some reserve. Okay. So you cannot be asking for 70% of the money and then broke afterwards, depending on sales of coffee, sales of donuts. So, it's not going to add up. Okay.
Right.
And then you're going to leverage the rest of your assets for that situation. No, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. So you got to have you got to have a complete open mind, and let's just dive into this. It's not about telling you what you should or should not do, because all these choices are yours. I want to help you see all the variables that are out there so you can make a more well-informed decision. It may be that we need to take your loan request to a particular banker. Okay. Why? Because they want to deal with projection loans, or they want to deal with asset-based loans, commercial property or the otherwise, or they want to do small business loans that are cash flowing, a company that's growing that has cash flow. So, I mean, we want to get you in the right place for the right type of money that you're trying to borrow. So, if you allow us to help you, you got Lori, you got me, there's a ton of other good advisors that I know, depending on where you are. And if you're anywhere in California, we're here to help you. And once you go out of the state, we can refer you to other people possibly. But here in California, you're talking to the best.
Yeah, it's a great team. And as Lauren says, these are your tax dollars at work. Like I said, Keith is part of the SBDC team as well as the other people. And so it really behooves you to sit down with one of these expert people, because not only are they looking at your numbers and helping you to understand, but making introductions. That's the other thing. They're going to make introductions to possible lenders that does a good match for what you're looking for in your capacity and where you're at. Well, Keith, I cannot tell you, I'm looking at the chat, just kind of the corner of my eyes, I sometimes do. The response from this is overwhelming. Thanks. You're already getting an email from someone. One of the people in the audience said that this is the most educational session that they ever had, that we weren't just talking to them and saying, we can lend you money. We were actually educating and presenting. So we have already, I can see all of the wonderful comments. So I want to thank you for coming on and just a real discussion about this so people understand. And in many options, or in many companies, there is options. You just need to know. But I always say getting the wrong money is worse than getting no money. I know that doesn't sound right for people, but it's so true.
Yes, finding and having the patience. I mean, it's one thing when you have a crisis and you're trying to get crisis financing for your situation. In many cases, it may be, let's just leave it alone. We don't need to damage you anymore.
Exactly. That's so true.
That's a tough pill to swallow, but guess what? Lending may, you could get told no. That means no for now. You could always come back. There's always another season. Just like there's next year, there's always next year with your business. There's the year after that. If you get a loan, that's for 5 years. If you don't look like you could be around for 5 years minimum, no lender is going to lend you any money. Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
And my last tidbit, SBA. Yep. If you're not showing profit in 2021, you better show some profit in 2022 when you get your tax returns done, because that's a rule. If you have a year of non-profitability, they want to see that next year's tax return for profit before they say yes to that loan. That's a standard rule.
Yep, very important for people to understand. There comes a point where the COVID excuse is not going to play out in the banking world. Mm-hmm. Well, we have gone way over because we could talk forever on this. So, Lauren, I want to invite you back on. Keith, I want to say a warm thank you for you coming on and discussing this with us today. Lauren?
Thank you, Lori. Good morning, everyone. Again, Keith, that was amazing per usual, though. There was nothing less we'd expect. And then, Lori, it was a really great show. Thank you both.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to, I know you'll be closing us down here, Lauren. I want to say thank you to everybody for being in attendance. The new people, welcome. Our frequent flyers. Next week, join us. We're going to talk about HR, another really important topic, and some things that have changed. And remember, you know, because of AB5, you may have to hire your independent contractors as an employee, and a lot of the laws affect employee number one. So tune in next week. We'll tell you about that. Lauren, we'll let you close it down. Keith, we're going to have you back on again sometime because we need to keep talking about this.
Anytime. And that last topic you just mentioned, that's a killer.
It is.
You gotta listen to that one.
Yep, we're starting that next week. That's the beginning I'm starting with next week. Okay, everybody, I will see you next week. Bye, Keith. Bye, Lauren. Thank you again for joining Lori Williams, Small Biz Talk. Bye-bye.
Bye, Lori. Bye, Keith. Thank you
Bye.
again.
Bye-bye.
Everyone, go ahead and hang back. If you need any contact information, let me go ahead and add that to our chat one last time. Excuse me. So in this nugget of information, you will see the link to our YouTube. You will also see a link to add any insight into the types of shows you would like to see in the future, as well as contact information. So if you'd like to set a meeting with Keith or Lori Williams, go ahead and shoot me an email. You'll see it lsimpson@lbcc.edu, and I will get you connected. Thank you so much for joining us again for another episode of Small Biz Talk, Solutions for Your Small Business. We will see you next week, Wednesday at 10 a.m. Bye.